you don't realize how much what you do what you see impacts you until you have to deal with similar stresses every single day. The things you see impact you. There's no way around it. You have to be able to let things go. And for me with a camera, there is a disconnect. I most of the time can, say, hey, I'm documenting what's going on. I have a purpose here, and I'm not directly involved. I did it. I broke down once because I watched a mother tell her daughter that she did not want to be resuscitated. She didn't want extraordinary measures done to prolong her life. And she knew she was going to die. And her daughter was unaccepting of this at that moment. And you watch the interaction. I watched the interaction, and that hit me like a brick. And you look at some things you brush it off. Some things you can't. And once something gets through, it impacts you.
Now, when you have photos like that could stir emotions or maybe a negative reaction in people, do you use explainers with these photos?
There have been times, I think in that case, the top editor wrote a column, and there's times where sometimes you'll discuss photo ethics, whether it was a particular one that readers were concerned about, or sometimes the decision not to run a photo. I don't think in the internet age, at least in recent years, we've done that. Actually, I take that back. We did. I was at the Cincinnati Enquirer for 3 years before I came here. I arrived in Vermont 9 months ago. And 2015 was a hugely violent year for street violence in Cincinnati. And in June of 2015, a police officer was shot by someone who was kind of doing a suicide by cop, and this guy shot the officer and ended up getting killed by police himself. And it was after a lot of other violent incidents involving street crime, and even a teenage girl was killed. It was a rough spring. So a couple of days after the police officer was killed, there was a peace march, mostly African Americans, but not entirely. And literally a half block away from the peace march, a young man shot another young man and killed them. And our photographer was covering the march, and he saw the commotion. So he went over there, and a state senator who's African American and another local black leader were over the body, and it was a really dramatic photo, and they're kind of like looking down the street for help type of thing. We did a note and explainer, and I can send you that too, about why we published the photo, because it just illustrated, when you have a man killed a half block from a peace march in a highly violent spring of street crime, and just after a police officer's been killed, there was a lot of attention. I'm a big believer with ethics, all ethical issues, including photos. If you talk about something before you publish, you're much more likely to have a defensible position if people are unhappy. And doesn't mean people won't be mad, but at least you can explain why you did what you did from an ethical and journalistic sense, and repeat that explanation as often as needed. If you haven't talked about it, which means you probably haven't thought about it, and it blows up, then you're kind of in this, humana, how should we respond mode, and that's the worst place to be. So I'm a big believer in forging or finding a defensible position by front-end discussion of ethical and similar considerations.